and this is Rock Solid Sports. I am your host for tonight, Chris Clark, aka the Birthday Kid. I have in studio with me our very own Chloe Levering.
Hello, Chris, and happy birthday. Aren't you 30 years old today?
I am. I am the old man of the group officially now. Yes, putting the old in 30 years old.
Awesome.
Yes, thank you so much, though. Also, we have joining us tonight, Mr. Dominic Throngard. Dominic,
howdy, everyone. It's going good. How about you guys?
Awesome. We are doing just fine, and we've also got our very own Brandon Schoen. Brandon, how's it going?
It's going pretty good. As a recent now UTK alumni, also not sponsored by You Who Drink. We got that going for us. Also, happy birthday, Chris. Not to make you feel old, but I'm only 22, not 30, so you got 8 years on me.
I appreciate you throwing that in, Brandon. It's very much appreciated. No, thank you so much. Yes, thank you so much to everyone out there listening as well. We certainly appreciate your support and for joining us for tonight's show. As you know, there are, as always, a lot of good things going on around campus to do with our very own athletics programs, and we are certainly going to get into that. We do have a interview that was conducted by our very own Joseph and Jack of Rock Solid Sports that we are going to play for you guys. And it is with Mr. Ryan Shumpert. So it is going to be very action-packed today. We've got that going on. We will talk about the current UT Vandy series that is also going on as well, as we are just now getting into SEC baseball tournament time. So exciting things going on right now at UT. And so Chloe says we are good to go with the interview. So we are going to kick that off first, and then we will be talking more about the series. And I just want to reiterate again, this is an interview that is done with Ryan Shumpert. So everyone out there, if you're not aware, he is a great media personality from around the area, and we very much appreciate his time that he does take to do these with us. So with that being said, let's get into it. Apologize. We're having some difficulties getting that going as of right now. So again, apologies about that. We will try and work on getting that to come up. I'll tell you what, in the meantime, while we work on that on our part here, Brandon, tell us what you got right now as far as this Tennessee Vandy series. How are you feeling about it? What did you think about the game yesterday?
As a very biased individual, always great to see Tennessee just absolutely become the number one team for baseball in the state of Tennessee. You know, previously overthrowing the top-ranked Commodores, I guess, in their prestige and history. And I think I saw somewhere, don't quote me on this, haven't done my research too hard, so apologies for that. But I think we've outscored them in total out of 4 games this year, 26-5. So that's pretty good.
Yeah, 26-5. That's not something that we've been too used to here in Knoxville in terms of playing against Vanderbilt baseball. That has certainly been a very pleasant sight to see this year. It's certainly been phenomenal to watch Tennessee get 4 wins against Vandy the first time since the 90s. So it has been quite a while since we've had this kind of success against our bitter in-state rival. Also, I do want to let everyone know we also have Connor, who is live at Fieldhouse Social, at the Hill, who is live at the Hill. Connor, are you with us? Okay. All right. So once again, apologize for the technical difficulties that we have going on right now. We will work on getting that set up. However, again, just thank you so much, everyone out there for rocking with us tonight. We understand it is a Friday. It is a busy weekend with Memorial Day, as it always is. So again, thank you so much for your patronage. Thank you so much for tuning in to 90.3. We certainly appreciate it. We can't do it without you guys and without our fine sponsors like those down at the Hill. So, Dominic, tell us. Brandon's given us a little bit of insight into what he's kind of feeling about this series. Is there anything that caught your eye yesterday about the game? Anything that you're looking for tonight going into this one?
So what I like about this series so far is that UT has been really, really strong in all areas. I mean, the game they played the other night, 0 errors against a strong Vandy team. Really good to see. And it's always good to beat up on little brother. With Vandy always kind of being UT's little brother in everything except for baseball, and now we kind of own him everywhere. And I really just think that our guys have brought the fire to the tournament and had a great opening game, and they're really set for success going into this SEC tournament.
Yeah, 100%. I can agree with that because, I think we had some setbacks going back to the team going in the past few weeks. We know about the Kentucky series. We know about some of the stumbles that they had prior to that, leading up to the end of the season. So it is very nice to see a team that is kind of rocking and rolling again, that is getting their swagger back. And I think you can see that with every inning they take, every at-bat that they're up there and looking to put it on the other team. Doesn't matter who it is, it seems to be at this point. So very exciting to see, and especially, as you said, little brother Vandy, though we've not been able to say that much in baseball. So it's quite a turnaround and just fantastic to see for the guys on the diamond out there wearing orange and white. Chloe, welcome back. Thank you for your technical assistance. How are we looking?
I got it figured out. I think we're looking pretty good now. Let's see if we have Connor at the Hill. Can you hear us?
I got you loud and clear now. I don't know what was going on with that. That was strange.
All right, sweet. Like three wrong things happened at once, but I think we got it fixed, and I think we're ready to listen to part of this interview. You guys are down for it, from our guys who are actually down in Hoover, Alabama at the SEC tournament this week. So I'm going to play about the first 10 or so minutes so I can hear what they have to say. That's Joseph Bonanno, Jack Foster, and Ryan Shumpert down in Alabama.
Welcome into Rock Solid Sports from the SEC tournament down in Hoover, Alabama. I'm Joseph Bonanno, joined by Jack Foster and Ryan Shumpert of Rocky Top Insider. We've dealt with a lot of things down here in Hoover. A couple weather delays, pushed some games back. And Tennessee was supposed to play on Wednesday, didn't play till Thursday night, but it didn't matter as they took down Vanderbilt 10-1 in pretty dominant fashion.
Yeah, it was dominant, Joseph, and it was a very complete performance from these baseballs. I feel like they just continue to surprise people week in, week out with just how well they perform. For Vanderbilt to be such a long-standing elite college baseball program, to knock them off like that in the SEC tournament, the fourth win Tennessee's had over Vandy this year, first time that's happened since '94. It's really encouraging to see from Tennessee.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we saw a lot of things last night. The long ball wasn't, the biggest factor. It did happen later in the game, but it was a lot of, situational hitting for the Vols. Some good pitching. Blake Tidwell obviously had a pretty decent start. Only went 4.1 innings. Only allowed 3 hits. His only blemish on the scoreboard was the solo home run to Carter Young. But at that point, the game was out of hand. And Ryan, just what did you see from Blade and from that Vols pitching staff against a pretty dynamic Vanderbilt team?
Yeah, I think you go back, the big moment was really there in the top of the third inning. Tennessee, like you said, I think it was the 5th inning when he gave up that home run, and the game was kind of already over. But in the 3rd inning, Vanderbilt really had a chance, threatening, had a runner on second with 1 out, and then again on third with 2 outs, and then they end up having runners in the corners with 2 outs, and then a questionable call. That first guy gets on. Frank Henderson is doing a lot of barking at the home plate umpire. So you saw a little bit of adversity there for Blade in that 3rd inning when it was still just a 1-run game, and really easily could have been a situation where Vanderbilt at least ties the game, if not does more damage. And I think you've seen him struggle sometimes this season when he's been thrown into some adversity and his command isn't the best. And he really responded well, and he got the big strikeout of Spencer Jones, who's probably behind Bradfield, the best bat in Vanderbilt's lineup. And I think that was huge. And I think you have to give a tidbit of cap to Luke Lipsius, who stole a run and a hit from Bratfield, I think, for that second out of that inning with a nice diving play. So, and I think that was kind of a theme for the game. Tennessee won lopsided, and Tony Vitello said this after the game, but there were a few moments where things could have gotten more competitive, and Tennessee made really impressive defensive plays. Trey Lipscomb's play, and I think what was the seventh inning being the other one to end the strand the bases loaded for Vanderbilt. And certainly it wasn't as dominant as Tidwell was at Mississippi State, but I thought it was a really solid outing for him. Probably his best start behind the Florida start. And I think that's good to see, because I think Tennessee wants him in that starting rotation in the NCAA tournament.
And you mentioned Bradfield, and he went over 4. Tidwell held him over for 3, and while he did put some good swings, had some pretty solid contact, like you mentioned, it just was right at Tennessee. Tony Vitello mentioned he hit into some bad luck, and honestly, that's kind of what you need here in the postseason, is just some luck to go your way with being able to produce and still have that talent and ability to score runs on offense and play good defense, like you mentioned. So it's really cool to see Tennessee being able to, maybe it's not just completely dominating in terms of, we struck Bradfield out, but to see that, hey, some luck will play on their side here and there. And we all know, covering Tennessee, that luck is not always the best thing for the Vols.
No, it's not, Joseph. And I kind of wanted to go back to Blade for a second. Ryan, you mentioned that dominant Mississippi State outing, closing out that Game 2 win. Do you think that helped with his confidence, his momentum going into the postseason?
I think it has to, or it had to some degree. I mean, how much that affected what he did last night, how much that affects what he does going forward, I think kind of remains an unknown. But I mean, he was baseball players are a different breed sometimes. And he had that madman stomping around the field at Mississippi State, just completely dialed in the way that pitchers are probably the best example of it in baseball too. They just become a different person when they're on the mound. And I think for him to kind of get in that mode, and look, he had some decent outings, but really since that Florida outing, which was, I guess, 3 weeks before Mississippi State, he really hadn't been excellent or anything. So we haven't seen, that was kind of the first time all year we've seen Blade Tidwell, I think, truly at his best. And I think it was big for him going into postseason play. And I think it's big for him to probably have some assurance that he's going to be in the starting rotation going into going into the NCAA tournament, because as has been a talking point amongst the media all year, Tennessee has those 4 good starters, and Tidwell with his injury, while he's certainly had a big role since he's come back, what that role exactly is, it hasn't always been clear.
Yeah, and so kind of switching to what the biggest story, I guess, from Tennessee's win over Vanderbilt was the offense. And like I mentioned to open, they didn't really use the long ball much until late in the game. Blake Burke came in, hit a monster of a pinch hit home run. Cortland Lawson also hit a late home run in that game. But it was a situational hitting. We saw Jarrell Ortega early in the first inning work a 12-pitch at bat that he ended up walking on. Drew Gilbert came up a few batters later, an RBI single on the first pitch he saw. So just, Ryan, just what have you seen? What did you see last night from these Tennessee hitters and how they kind of responded to Vanderbilt and having Vanderbilt as their first opponent to open SEC tournament play?
I think you really hit the nail on the head talking about Ortega and Gilbert, because to me, those were the guys that set the tone. I mean, you mentioned those at bats in the first inning. Ortega, I mean, to have the second, Drew Gilbert kind of talked about after the game, to have the second at bat of the game go 12 pitches, and for everyone that hasn't hit to watch 12 pitches from the starting pitcher, and I think he fouled off 6 in a row at one point in there. Incredibly impressive. And then you fast forward to the third inning, which is when Tennessee broke it open after Tidwell got out of that jam. Ortega falls, it was the top of the order up, Seth Stevenson singles up the middle. Ortega falls behind 0-2. Best 2-strike hitter on this team, doubles one in the gap, scores a run. And then 2 at-bats later, there was Drew Gilbert again with the first pitch RBI single. So those guys really set the tone. But I think overall what was most encouraging about it is that you got contributions from everybody. 8 guys drove in runs. I think Gilbert and Lipsius were the only 2 that drove in multiple runs. And you mentioned kind of the less home runs until later in the game. But I think you saw at Lindsey Nelson Stadium, which the park plays so well for the home run, there just aren't, the gaps are so small in the outfield. And you saw Tennessee spray the ball significantly better last night, hitting it opposite field, hitting it into the gaps, and really just had base runners on it. Felt like every single inning. So I think that's important because we know Omaha plays even bigger than the Hoover Met, and that's going to be important going forward. But I think that was just a great way for Tennessee to start postseason play with really everybody in the offense. I guess Jordan Beck would be the one guy you would say struggled at the plate. Everybody else really had solid contributions and had impressive at-bats that were crucial for Tennessee. Maybe not all to win because Tennessee won by 9 runs, but to put up a huge offensive output.
No, yeah, that's a really great point, especially, how much we've seen Tennessee hit home runs this season. I mean, you mentioned that third inning. It was 5 RBIs on 5 at-bats, so 5 balls each had an RBI that inning. Like you said, just really consistent at-bats. You mentioned Jordan Beck. Some people have maybe gotten a little impatient with his struggles as of late. What do you think is the reason for his slump? Do you think there should be any worry about his slump right now with postseason play ramping up?
Yeah, that's a good question. I couldn't really pinpoint what the issues are. I mean, Tony Vitello talked about it after the game that he thought last night he was kind of pulling off some balls, but overall, you really go back to the Auburn series is when he's been struggling since, which that's 5 weeks now. So to me, while Vitello says he thinks a lot of it's been bad luck in that stretch, to me, that's just too big of a sample size to not at least be a little bit concerned about it. Is it the end of the world? Probably not. Would I be surprised if Jordan Beck gets it turned around going into the regional or even the rest of the SEC tournament? Not at all, but he certainly has had some struggles over the last month, and I think that's important to get that right because when Jordan Beck, Drew Gilbert, and Trey Lipscomb are hitting well or hitting at their capabilities, I mean, this Tennessee offense is just nearly impossible. To have 3 hitters like that in the middle of the lineup, it is a nightmare for pitchers, especially when, to my point earlier about how balanced Tennessee's offense was last night, we know it has that capability certainly as well. So it's at least something I'm monitoring, and I think is a little bit of a concern for Beck. But what exactly it is, I'm not able to pinpoint it.
And once again, that was Ryan Shumpert with Rocky Top Insider. Again, thank you so much for joining us, for joining our loyal crew here with Joseph Bonanno, our leader, and Jack Foster as well. Thank you so much, guys, for conducting the interview and a lot of insight going into that, of course. Again, this is a very big time of the year right now as Tennessee is making their way through the SEC tournament in hopes of bringing home what would be a second conference title for UT Sports within just the last few months. So with that being said, guys, we are taking on LSU for the next game after handling Vandy last night fairly easily, I might add. And Vandy, also, I might add, now out of the tournament after a loss to Kentucky. So that being said, again, we have Tennessee LSU going on tonight. Guys, what are we primarily looking for in this matchup as we get ready to take on the Tigers, a team who's had a lot of success in recent years, well, maybe not so recent years, but in years prior, LSU has been quite a team in the SEC. They have certainly made their name, and they will not be an easy out, certainly for the Vols. I will throw it to Brandon. Brandon, let us know what you got going on for tonight. What are some key things that you're looking to see from the Vols?
From the Vols, I mean, obviously Chase Dollander starting on the mound for Tennessee and as the pitcher of the year. Kind of need him to come through strong, kind of get started early and be consistent with it. It's going to be difficult as LSU is a team who has gotten really hot recently. I mean, they've been good all season, let's put it there, because they have one of the best players, if not, a very important player to watch for the upcoming season and whatnot, in Dylan Cruz. And then also they had a freshman go 5 for 5. His name is Josh Pearson, went 5 for 5 with 2 home runs against Kentucky. And obviously, if your team and players start to get hot, everybody else is going to start to get hot. So really, it's just going to be a strong performance on the mound. Not too much worried about our own offense per se, as Trey Lipscomb has just continuously proven himself to be the man of the hour for Tennessee. 75 hits, 75 RBIs this season. So yeah, just dominant pitching is what I'm looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. With Tennessee having the arms that they do, just the repertoire that is ready to go out at any given moment, this is certainly going to be, I think, the most key factor, if I'm being honest, in terms of Tennessee's success. I think a lot of it will hinge upon what the arms are able to add to what's already a dynamic offense. We already know very well about Trey Lipscomb. We know about the rest of the team. They're just absolutely phenomenal hitters. So I think a lot of that, yes, will hinge upon how beneficial can the bullpen be, the starting pitching as well, because obviously when you get to this time of the year, bats are probably going to stay hot. How are the arms though? How well rested are they? I think these guys seem to prove that they can go out there at any given time and put on quite a solid performance. Dominic, what's your interesting take on this Tennessee LSU game?
I really feel like these are two teams that can be really hot on offense. So I'm inclined to agree with you guys that the pitching is going to be key, because if Tennessee can get some good pitching, I think that it fares way better for them, whereas LSU's been a little bit less consistent with their pitching throughout the season. And I just feel like if Tennessee is able to get the advantage with their pitching, they're not going to have a problem capitalizing on offense, because they've been hot all year long and they've seemingly been hot into this tournament. I think it really boils down to just how well this LSU team ends up hitting against us. And even if they do hit well, I think Tennessee will hit equally as well. And these are teams that both like to score a lot of runs. So it's really down to what the pitchers can do.
Yeah, actually, absolutely. Just a fair assessment on LSU. They're here for a reason. They are obviously a team that their name carries weight. We know about LSU athletics throughout all of sports, but especially when it comes to football and baseball. They are just a team that, again, even in a down year, they're never going to be an easy out for any team. So, Chloe, I'm curious to see what you have to say about tonight's game after the whooping we handed Vandy last night.
I think tonight's game is going to go well, personally. I think although LSU is, of course, a different team than they were last year at this time, around this time when, Tennessee beat them, and that was what advanced them to the College World Series. I think that a lot of these Tennessee guys still remember that. A lot of those were sold out games. I went to those games, and as a student, it was standing room only for students. They sold out our seats to fans, and it was just a great time. It was definitely really emotional for all these players on this team who hadn't seen a College World Series in, quite a hot second. So I think that there is some emotion with playing LSU last year, obviously, and the last time that they took them on, winning, and it being such a great win to advance to the World Series. But LSU also has, a new coach. He retired last year, the coach that brought them so many victories. I'm losing his name. But I think that this will be definitely a game that Tennessee wants to win and knows that it can be a challenge if so, because LSU isn't too shabby at all. It's right now, Alabama and Texas A&M is going on, and Alabama, who has beat us once in a series of 3. Tennessee won the series, but they beat us once this season, is now ahead of Texas A&M, which is supposed to be ranked so much higher than Alabama. It just shows that anything can happen in this SEC tournament. So I think that for sure, Vitello and the players are looking at that and saying, we really need to win this. No need to get cocky now. Did we just annihilate Vandy? Yes. But also this game is going to be super important, as well as they all are. And like it is with most sports, there's no telling in the SEC how it will go. But I think this is going to be a good game for the Vols, maybe even a close one, but hopefully a good outcome.
I think it's safe to say that we will have a close game going into this one later on this evening. Again, this is a well-touted matchup for a reason. LSU is a team that can put up good runs at any given time. So it depends on how hot their bats are. I definitely think it's a little surprising right now. You mentioned the Alabama A&M game because that is another one that we are keeping an eye on, not just because the Vols play 30 minutes after that game ends, but because as of right now, as it stands, Alabama is upsetting A&M 3-1, A&M being the 2 seed in the conference tournament, and certainly a team that is very hot right now. So
only the bottom of the second, but we'll see.
Okay, so we're in the bottom of the second in that one. There's still plenty of time to go for the Aggies, who, if you saw them playing against the Gators yesterday, they will put up runs after runs. So Tennessee, a team that can do that, but they are not the only one. And so that is a good point, Chloe, that Tennessee needs to, keep their heads down, keep their heads in a good mindset. Don't get too cocky, because anything can happen in these conference tournaments, and that's for sure. Connor, over at the Hill. What is going into tonight's game? What are you expecting to see out of both sides?
I think Connor, from what he's saying here, is having a hard time hearing your mic. So I'll go ahead and repeat the question. Connor, at the Hill, what are you expecting to see on both sides of tonight for Tennessee and LSU coming up here just after this current game, Bama and A&M ends?
Yeah, I can't really hear you at all, Chris. I'm gonna be honest. I don't know why your mic is messing up, but I expect a lot of fireworks, to be honest, because if you haven't been paying attention to this SEC tournament, you might have missed that LSU's offense has been on a rampage this last couple games. I think in their last 4 games, or I think it's 4, they've scored 53 runs. Yes, you heard me correctly. 53 runs in their last 4 games. So I expect a lot of offense, and I hopefully think our pitching staff will be able to pull it out in the end. I think we have more arms than they do, but as always, you got to watch out. We are playing one of the co-SEC players of the year with Dylan Cruz. He is an absolute monster. He gets on base any way possible. He scores. He has power. He is an absolute all-around player. I think we got to pay attention to him. And we got to be honest, this LSU program and team, they're no schmucks. They've been around. They've been here before. The coach has the experience. This is a new coach, but the program has the experience. But they've been here last year. It's not like this is first year. It's not your typical first year program where the head coach is taking a bunch of young guys into uncharted territory. They've been here before. They've done this. They have the pedigree. So I would be very concerned and very cautious if I was a Tennessee pitcher. But at the same time, I would not want to lose any aggression in going after these LSU batters, because I do think at the end of the day, Tennessee has the arms to get it done. I think we have more, but I do expect some fireworks from both sides in this matchup.
Yeah, absolutely. Cruz is just out there literally just cruising against everybody. He is finding all kinds of ways to get the job done for the Tigers. You mentioned the coach. He may be a first-year guy with the LSU, Jay Johnson. He has picked up right where the other coach has left off. They are doing a fantastic job in terms of lighting up the scoreboard. It is something we will keep an eye on, most certainly, because that game does kick off, not kick off. It does start tonight. Excuse me, I'm in the wrong sport of mine here. That game does start tonight at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern, though technically it will start 30 minutes after the Texas A&M and Alabama game ends. And that will be on SEC Network for tonight. Again, somewhere around 10 o'clock, so just keep your TVs tuned. We're going to take it to break, and we will be right back. Again, you are listening to Volunteer Radio. This is Rock Solid Sports.
This is Robert Mercurio from Galactic. You're listening to 90.3 The Rock, bringing Knoxville new music first.
The Rock thanks the Hill Bar and Grill for their support. The Hill on Forest Avenue is open 7 days a week at 11 a.m. until late night for dining indoors or on the expanded patio. The Hill has a variety of appetizers and a full menu of wings, burgers, tacos, and more. The Hill is our Thursday Munchie Madness sponsor and home of Friday's Rock Solid Sports. On Instagram at The Hill Knox. Menu at thehillknox.com. WUTK thanks Historic Brushy Mountain State Penitentiary for their support as they present country music singer and songwriter Randy Houser in concert Saturday, May 28th at the old prison site in Petros, Tennessee. Fairview Union opens the show with gates at 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. showtime for this charity show, with the $5 ticket and all proceeds benefiting Moco Mutts Rescue Center, a no-kill animal shelter in rural Morgan County. Pre-show activities include touring the prison, distillery, and museum. Food and drinks on site and camping and parking allowed. Lawn chairs are encouraged. Tourbrushy.com for info and tickets to see Randy Houser live at Brushy Mountain May 28th.
The Rock remains on air thanks to listener donations and support from Blank News, presenting the Second Bell Music Festival September 30th and October 1st at Suttree Landing Park on the banks of the Tennessee River. Featuring an OG reunion set by Superdrag and 30 amp fuse for a new Rock 90 night, hip-hop from Big Boy, a live comedy tent, and more. A portion of ticket sales will benefit WTK's 40 for 40 campaign, as well as nonprofit X Hunger. WTK will have a tent on site as well. Secondbelfast.com for tickets, including a VIP package and more info, and a link to the festival website is at WTKradio.com.
Hello, I'm Phil Collins. Racism is ignorance, but then so is silence in the face of it. We are all one people with different faces from different places, but we are all one people.
Artists Against Racism. Check us out at artistsagainstracism.org.
Hi, this is UT Chancellor Dondi Plowman. Happy birthday to Volunteer Radio, 90.3 The Rock. Since 1982, rockin' ears for 40 years.
Volunteer Radio thanks Blank Newspaper for their support and media partnership. Blank Newspaper is a local independent publication filling readers in on sports, entertainment, and local interest stories, available at over 300 locations in Knox and adjacent counties. Blank's latest issue features a Big Ears recap, a Tennessee Smokies preview, and it's the last week to vote in Blank's 2022 Knoxville's Finest Readers Poll. WUTK would appreciate considering voting for us as Knoxville's finest radio station. The poll is open until May 31st online and inside the latest edition, blanknews.com or in the new issue.
And vote for WUTK's Rock Solid Sports for Best Sports Radio Show.
Hey kids, it's Derek
and Rob from the Funhouse.
Brought to you each Friday night by Raven Records and Rarities, located at 1200 North Central in Happy Hollow.
Join us each Friday as we kick off your weekend with classics from bands like The Descendants, The Stooges, My Morning Jacket, Mudhoney.
Newer stuff from Amel and the Sniffers, King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, Wet Leg and Turnstile. You'll also catch some local stuff.
Hip-hop, Americana, metal.
Who knows? We don't even know half the time.
Every Friday at 8 o'clock, right here on 90.3 The Rock.
Hey, Jimmy from Out Loud Knox, how would you describe the show?
Music, blah, 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 blah.
Support for WUTK comes from Fieldhouse Social, the modern sports bar next to campus at University Commons. Fieldhouse Social serves American craft fare such as burgers, wings, and more with high tops around the bar, a separate dining area, and a center lounge with leather chairs and couches in front of their 23-foot LED TV wall for Tennessee and pro sports. Fieldhouse Social is an outdoor patio with trivia twice a week and sponsors Wednesday's Rock Solid Sports. FieldhouseSocial.com.
Volunteer Radio remains on the air thanks to listener donations and support from the UT Athletic Department. After making it to Omaha last season, the 2022 Baseball Vols regular season has wrapped up, and the team now waits for the NCAA Regional First-Round Playoffs, with games played at Lindsey Nelson Stadium June 3rd through June 6th. Ticket info is at allvols.com. Tune in to Rock Solid Sports for UT baseball coverage, and the Rock wishes Coach Vitello and the Baseballs good luck on the diamond during the playoffs.
Volunteer Radio remains on the air thanks to support from Tennessee Smokies Baseball, the AA Southern League affiliate of the Chicago Cubs, whose 2022 regular season schedule features 6-game homestands Tuesdays through Sundays at nearby Smoky Stadium in Kodak against the Chattanooga Lookouts, Mississippi Braves, Birmingham Barons, and more. WUTK's Rock Solid Sports will cover Smokies Baseball all season long. SmokiesBaseball.com, and a link is at WUTKRadio.com.
What's up, Knoxville? We are back. Thank you so much again for rocking with us for tonight. We know it is a busy weekend with Memorial Day and all the crazy events that are starting off summer. Again, thank you so much for joining us for tonight's show and for catching up on all your latest on UT athletics and professional sports as well. We're going to kick it back over to Connor at the Hill. I know Connor probably can't hear me right now, so I will have Chloe try
I
to.
got you loud and clear now. I got you.
All right. We are rocking. Connor, thank you. All right. Tell us, how's it going down there at our fine sponsor, the Hill Bar and Grill?
We got a lot of people locked in on this SEC tournament, Chris. We got a lot of people trying to figure out the potential next round opponents for Tennessee, because I got to be honest, the vibe here is we are moving on. LSU can suck it. I know that is LSU's logo. We are stealing it from them. This is our year. They can go eat it.
Well put, succinctly put, my friend. Thank you so much, Connor, for checking back with us. Again, the Hill Bar and Grill, great spot to go to. We thank them so much for their support. And if you have, if you're not doing anything on your pleasant Friday night, that is now pleasant, thankfully that all the rain has passed, it is a great spot to go and check out. So thank you again so much for your support. All right, so we are going to start this off with some basketball talk. We're going to get into some former Vols who are also still now current Vols, as well as some new Vols. So word on the street is that Santiago Vescovi is planning a return to Knoxville. Chloe, I know you seem to be pretty excited about it, as most of us here in K-Town are. Why don't you give us a little insight on Mr. Vescovi and what the situation is there?
Yes, so it seems that Vescovi is not, going in for the NBA draft, and he's going to remain in Knoxville. That's what it seems. That's what all the news sources are officially pretty much claiming now. So I'm super excited about this because while I love seeing Vols go to the NBA and I love seeing them play professionally, I am a selfish college sports fan. And Vescovi, I think, besides that's all jokes aside, I think that Vescovi is very much, someone who's vital to this team. Yes, Tennessee does have a lot of important players that are still there and some veteran players, but losing those seniors, losing great freshmen that come with having a good basketball team every year, one and dones to the NBA draft. It's important to have a veteran like Vescovi still there. It'll make the team more optimistic. And if you saw him play this year, I'm just excited after years of not having someone who could really nail threes on a Tennessee team, and then seeing Santiago come in and do that. It's been really great. I think him coming back will be a really great thing for the team. And I think it will probably be a good thing for him as well. He wouldn't be withdrawing from the draft if he was confident in his draft stock, right? I think he feels like he could use another year. He wasn't always the most consistent in the regular season. So I think that this is some good news. I'm excited. What about you guys?
I'm really inclined to think that it's a really good decision for him to stay. I think that he would not have ended up being drafted, to be perfectly honest. He's very talented, but he does not have the kind of things that NBA scouts would be looking for. He's not necessarily the biggest guy. He doesn't have the most elite handles out of the guards, but he's a very solid player for this Tennessee team, and he does his role really well for us, and he works really well in our system. And he's a great shooter. He's able to really move the offense for our team. And I think that it's a really good move on his end to stay, and I'm really excited to see him stay here, especially with him being a veteran presence. I think it's overall really good call on everyone's end.
Brandon, what are your sentiments about Santi deciding to stay here in Knoxville for another season?
I used to say Santa Claus was going to the North Pole, or rather the NBA, but I'm kind of glad it's not Christmas time, but it is here in Knoxville. As a Tennessee fan, it's relieving, especially because, the news of Josiah Jordan-James coming back, and now Santiago Vescovi, two starters who are very, veteran, especially in Rick Barnes' system. When we have a lot of new guys coming in, I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of a Debbie Downer at first. Saw all these transfers or people were declaring for the NBA. I was like, man, this year might not be the best for Rick Barnes and company, and it might hurt. But with very two experienced guys who have a very talented display of skills to continue to showcase, to have them come back is great. Along with, Julian Phillips coming to UT, BJ Edwards, of course, and DJ Jefferson, recently making his kind of commitment and signing towards Tennessee. It's looking up and up, as they say, for Tennessee basketball. So with Santiago coming back, you can only expect bigger things. And to kind of agree with Dominic, I don't know if it would have been best for him to continue to pursue the NBA route this season per se, as he faces the risk versus reward of injury, but at the same time, it gives him more time to kind of hone in on his skills and kind of get more of them out there and more looks some different kind of leagues and people.
And I don't want to knock Santi at all, because first and foremost, we are absolutely pleased to welcome him back. If that is going to be the case, of course, this is still sort of in the air, but it is what we are thinking is going to happen, and certainly believing so. So again, first and foremost, we are always welcoming the door back for Santiago Vescovi, who has certainly put in a lot of time and effort here at Tennessee over the last few seasons, who has experienced somewhat unprecedented success for the Vols, getting that first conference tournament title with some of the gang this past March, excuse me. So it is so great to see a veteran presence coming back. And Brendan, as you pointed out, this is a team that's going to need it going into next season. That's most certainly going to be a thing. You're losing some of your tremendous talent in Kennedy Chandler. And this is where I was kind of getting at. With Kennedy Chandler, of course, we knew that was kind of a situation where that is certainly a risk versus reward. Him coming back, there wasn't much reward in terms of doing that. So that makes sense. Seeing a guy like Vescovi, though, I've always tried to relate his play to that of a Manu Ginobili-esque. Now, he's certainly not a Ginobili, and that's no knock to him because most people in the entire world are not Manu Ginobili. But just having that left-handed presence with the ball, the way he's able to dribble off the screens, the way he's able to make plays happen sometimes, he reminds me a bit of that, the way he can get into the lane and finish sometimes. So I think it is tremendous that Vescovi is coming back for another year. This is a situation where Tennessee's going to need that veteran presence ever so much going into next season because, the SEC is only going to continue to get tougher and tougher. We will see Kentucky come back. We will see the likes of Alabama and Arkansas continue to be good and put pressure on some of these other teams. So this is a big deal for Tennessee. Very good news. This is not the only good news, however, though. Tennessee was able to pick up a commitment from 4-star power forward Cade Phillips for next season. Now, Cade Phillips is coming in. He is going to be rocking the orange and white despite the fact that both his father, his uncle, and his grandfather all played football down in Tuscaloosa. So this has got to feel like a shot to the heart for those guys, but it is such a rewarding feeling for us to know that we picked up someone with so much talent who can come in and be kind of an instant impact. So, guys, in terms of going into next season, big man presence is something that we have, I don't want to say lacked because obviously, we have our guy who was here for 20 years holding it down low in the paint. But, with him moving on now, Folk, the incredible Folk that is, of course, now it is time to see someone else take those reins. We unfortunately saw Huntley Hatfield transfer to Louisville. Best of luck to him, but he's no longer in the orange and white, so we no longer speak his name around here other than moments like this. So with Cade Phillips coming in, guys, how are we feeling about the impact he's possibly going to have on this team next season?
I think it's really important that he already, that first of all, that he just chose Tennessee at all because I've been reading some things about him and he says that, he notices a lot of players, they do, and he did as well, come here for, the environment, how you feel welcomed at Tennessee and just the fan base and things like that. So that's already a win. I'm super excited, 4-star, that's just anything this team can get. And it's just already good that he's already got that, that he's already, forming relationships with some of the players here at Tennessee and the team itself. And I can't wait to see what he looks like, out there playing with some college guys.
I like all the hunky-dory stuff. I got to be honest. I love the 4-star, but I'm a little worried about this team's positioning, floor spacing, and overall chemistry because I think we have a lot of ball-dominant guys. I am kind of concerned that we don't have the shooting and the size to space the floor like we need to. I am a little concerned. I mean, don't get me wrong. Any 4-star is absolutely welcome here, but just with how the roster is built, I'm kind of concerned with touches and isolation and people trying to get their shot and points more so than maybe working the system.
Yeah, I think that's a valid point because I think for Tennessee, you have a situation where you have Zakai Ziegler, who of course is going to continue to progress in his pursuit of being kind of our main ball handler, at least a primary one at that. So he's going to require a lot of attention from the ball. Who knows how much Cade is going to, right? We know Santi, same thing with him. Santi can move better without the ball, in my opinion, in terms of being able to create opportunities while moving around. But he also still does require, to have the ball in his hands in order to facilitate at times. So for him, I think looking at that possible issue that we're going to have in terms of the too many guys that just require so much of the ball to create, facilitate, make things happen, I think that's where it's going to come down to just a tremendous coach like we have in Coach Barnes, who can try and help alleviate a lot of that. Now, nothing is going to be perfect. We know this, but I think I put my trust in Coach Barnes at this point that he's going to be able to figure some things out. This is an unprecedented problem for him. He's had these issues before where he's had so many great guards, so much great talent on one team that he had to figure out how to maneuver the roster around, how to shake things up, and to make sure that everybody is being as efficient as possible. So I do think that's a good point in that. But I think I'm gonna trust Rick Barnes coming off of the SEC championship here, losing a key guy in Kennedy Chandler, and but being able to retain some of his other guys who are able to help with that presence. I think Zakai is going to take a big step this year. I really do. So that will be huge in Barnes being able to set the tone for how he's able to run this offense and this roster.
My only thing with Zakai is I'm worried about how much we can keep him on the floor with his defensive liabilities and limitations, with him being 5'8".
Sure.
That is my biggest concern, down the stretch in close games, in SEC play, like, can we really leave him on the floor? Like, no matter how good he is, and I'm an Atlanta Hawk fan, so I have Trae Young.
Oh, you
so
poor guy. I'm sorry.
This is basically a Trae Young situation for me. Like, how much does his offense outweigh the defensive limitations?
Yeah. No, and it does. For Zakai, it's going to, there's some things to figure out. But you cannot figure out height. That's for sure. That's something you just either have or you don't. So it's unfortunately for him, not something that he can just create in the offseason. So where you go from that, there's any number of options. But I think Zakai, I do want to see him at least just become a better defender. Yes, he's not going to be able to make up the inches compared to some of the other guards that are in the SEC and just basketball in general. But you know what? I believe in the guy's heart. I think he has more heart than many others I see play this game. And that's not being cliche. That's not being, bleeding orange and white. That's just legitimate. This guy, I think he lives and breathes basketball, and he will find ways to get better. Remember, this is just his past season this year prior. So there is plenty of room for Zakai to grow, maybe not physically, but in terms of as a basketball player and be more well-rounded in his game. Well, we appreciate the basketball talk and the insight from all of you guys. But we are going to continue on the other side of a break. We are going to take a quick second here, get some sponsor time in, and we will be back to talk some WNBA as well as some NBA as well. So keep it tuned. This is Volunteer Radio 90.3.
This is William Wild, and you're listening to 90.3 The Rock, Volunteer Radio, UT's College of Rock.
The Rock thanks the Hill Bar and Grill for their support. The Hill on Forest Avenue is open 7 days a week at 11 a.m. until late night for dining indoors or on the expanded patio. The Hill has a variety of appetizers and a full menu of wings, burgers, tacos, and more. The Hill is our Thursday Munchie Madness sponsor and home of Friday's Rock Solid Sports. On Instagram at The Hill Knox. Menu at thehillknox.com.
Volunteer Radio remains on the air thanks to support from Tennessee Smokies Baseball, the AA Southern League affiliate of the Chicago Cubs, whose 2022 regular season schedule features 6-game homestands Tuesdays through Sundays at nearby Smoky Stadium in Kodak against the Chattanooga Lookouts, Mississippi Braves, Birmingham Barons, and more. WUTK's Rock Solid Sports will cover Smokies Baseball all season long. SmokiesBaseball.com, and a link is at WUTKRadio.com.
Support for WUTK comes from Fieldhouse Social, the modern sports bar next to campus at University Commons. Fieldhouse Social serves American craft fare such as burgers, wings, and more with high tops around the bar, a separate dining area, and a center lounge with leather chairs and couches in front of their 23-foot LED TV wall for Tennessee and pro sports. Fieldhouse Social is an outdoor patio with trivia twice a week and sponsors Wednesday's Rock Solid Sports. FieldhouseSocial.com.
WUTK thanks the nonprofit Knox Pride for their support. Knox Pride's mission is to be educators, communicators, and representatives of the LGBTQ+ community. Throughout the year, Knox Pride holds recurring events, including Knox Pride Fest. The 2022 Knox Pride Fest is September 30th through October 2nd, with a Friday night parade, festival Saturday, brunch, and shopping too. Their community center at 402A Chapman Highway is open weekdays, offering vocational resources, referrals, and also serves as a gathering place for the community. A calendar of events and more at knoxpride.com.
90.3 The Rock, Knoxville's original music pioneers.
Right on, brother. I hear you. Man, I hear you.
Bringing Knoxville new music first.
Good for you, man. Good for you. Good for you.
Left of the dial, it's 90.3 The Rock.
Wow, that is sensational.
Volunteer Radio remains on the air thanks to listener donations and support from the UT Athletics Department. After making it to Omaha last season, the 2022 Baseball Vols regular season has wrapped up, and the team now waits for the NCAA Regional First Round Playoffs, with games played at Lindsey Nelson Stadium June 3rd through June 6th. Ticket info is at allvols.com. Tune in to Rock Solid Sports for UT baseball coverage, and the Rock wishes Coach Vitello and the Baseballs good luck on the diamond during the playoffs.
Hey kids, it's Derek.
And Rob from the Funhouse.
Brought to you each Friday night by Raven Records and Rarities, located at 1200 North Central in Happy Hollow.
Join us each Friday as we kick off your weekend with classics from bands like The Descendants, The Stooges, My Morning Jacket, Mudhoney.
Newer stuff from Anal and the Sniffers, King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, Wet Leg, and Turnstile. You'll also catch some local stuff.
Hip-hop, Americana, metal.
Who knows? We don't even know half the time.
Every Friday at 8 o'clock, right here on 90.3 The Rock.
Hey, Jimmy from Out Loud Knock. How would you describe the show?
Music, blah, 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 blah.
And welcome back. This is Rock Solid Sports Friday night edition. Again, thank you so much for rocking with us tonight. We appreciate you getting your weekend started with us and catching up on all things UT and professional sports related. I'm going to kick it right over to Chloe as she is going to give us the download on what's going on with the WNBA right now.
Yeah, so I'm trying to do this new thing where I talk about the Lady Vols for life in the WNBA. There's a lot of Lady Vols that are there, but I thought I would mainly focus on Chicago Sky, beat the Mystics, and the Fever. And Candace Parker had a good game versus the Fever. If you see the videos, she was so excited and hyped up after that win. She had 16 points, 6 rebounds, and 7 assists. They did lose to the Storm, though, recently. Ray Burrell hasn't been active very much for the Sparks, but, we hope that changes. I'm just still upset Renaya Davis isn't on a WNBA team right now. So, there's, talent's always going to be underrated in my opinion, being a huge Lady Vols fan. But, Candace Parker being Candace Parker, and hopefully we'll have some more news about Lady Vols in the future.
Chloe, thank you so much. We always appreciate keeping up with our former VFLs, both men's and women's, of course. So it's great to see Lady Vols doing their thing in the WNBA. And there are some of the ones we hope to see doing their thing here sooner than later. So hopefully Renaya Davis can get on the court here sometime soon. But again, so we are going to shift from the WNBA to the NBA. So as many are aware, last night the Golden State Warriors did clinch another NBA final spot. This is now, I believe, number 5 within the last 7 years. So it has been quite a run for Steve Kerr and those Golden State Warriors, Stephen Curry, all those guys, the Splash Brothers, Draymond. So not surprised to see them finish off Dallas last night. I am a little bit surprised to see that the series only did go 5 games. I expected a little bit more out of Luka and the crew, particularly at home. So, again, shocking to see. But I think for the Warriors, they are just rolling on all cylinders right now. And they now have the luxury of being able to wait for their next opponent, who is either going to be the Boston Celtics or the Miami Heat. And as it stands right now, that series is 3-2 Boston. Game 6 is tonight here in a half hour at 8:30. And we do anticipate, I think, a decent matchup. But I think as of right now, as it stands, it appears that Boston has the upper hand. And I believe right now, our man Marcus Smart and, of course, Grant Williams, former VFL. Again, we love to see VFLs doing their things in professional sports. And he has been balling out for Boston. So he will look to continue the fantastic run that he has had so far in the playoffs. So Boston getting ready to take on Miami tonight. It is not looking good for the Miami Heat, guys. They are on the verge of being put out. Tyler Hero is out for tonight's game. That's not a good sign for the Heat. Real quick, guys, we only have a few minutes left. Tell me, what do you expect for tonight? And if you do anticipate a Celtics-Warriors finals, give me a quick insight on how you think the series is going to go. I'll kick it off to Brandon.
Oh, goodness. Sorry about that. So big news for the Celtics with Marcus Smart, being active for the roster, as well as Robert Williams, big man that they need, also active for the Celtics. Heat, Their injury report looks like a whole lot of pain. So I think, hopefully, being biased as I can, Grant Williams, VFL, hope to see him continue to just show dominant defense. He locked down, Giannis. He can prove that he belongs, and I want to see him have the utmost and best success that he can.
Dominic, what you got, bud?
So I think that the Celtics are going to win too. I just feel like this Celtics team during the playoffs, they felt the most smooth out of the Eastern Conference team. They just feel like they're the team that's there to win it all, and they've really asserted that presence. But I do think on the other end of things, if it's the Warriors-Celtics finals, I think the Warriors are going to win it. I think they just have the experience, and I really like this Warriors team that they've built this time around instead of, the super team. This is more of a homegrown type deal where they pick up a player who had been considered bad and a bust in Wiggins, and then homegrown talent like Kevon Looney. I think that this Warriors team just looks really good, and I think they're doing it the right way this time.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a team that now I think is a bit more respectable than it was with Kevin Durant joining those teams for the time that he did. Real quick, I will kick it back over to Connor one last time over at our sponsor, the Hill Bar and Grill. Connor, give us a quick insight and what you're thinking for tonight.
As always, it's looking great over here. The times are great. The drinks are flowing. The food is amazing. But I said here a week ago, and I told our friend Grant Mitchell that we would see a Warriors-Celtics final, and I stand here and agree with that. I said it wouldn't go to 7. I said it'd be 5, but 6 is okay with me. I don't think the Heat have the firepower. I think the Heat are, quite frankly, very overrated. I think they played some amazing defense, and that is what got them here. But scoring-wise, a lot of inconsistencies, and I just don't think they have the star power to get it done against Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, big old Al Horford at his old, elderly age, still showing what he's got. But, yeah, Warriors, Celtics is what I got.
I also have the same. I think the Celtics right now, they are rolling in terms of the Eastern Conference. But at the end of the day, the Warriors, they are the team with experience, and we will see if that finals matchup ends up happening. It could be very epic. We have plenty of time to talk about that. But once again, this has been your Friday night edition for Rock Solid. I thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you so much, Chloe, for allowing me to take mic number 1 for tonight. It has been a while since Knoxville has rocked with you boys, so it has been wonderful. It has been a great icing on the cake for the birthday. Thank you so much to all of our guys that joined us for tonight. To Joseph and Jack out there covering the baseball tournament, good luck, and we will catch you on the other side of the weekend. This has been Volunteer Radio 90.3 The Rock.
Vote for us in the Blank News Finest Poll, Best Sports Show.
Well, we want to be free. We want to be free to do what we want to do without being hassled by the